अर्थशास्त्र देखिए, it has been one of the most अर्थशास्त्र देखिए, it has been one of the most exhaustive political treatise TIC treatise to treatise on government treatise political treatise on real politics. Professor Alteker believes that the position of Arthashastra is comparable to position of Arthashastra in politics. Position of Arthashastra in politics is comparable to Panini's. इतना रिच सोर्स है कि देखो हमारे पास एक और एंशिएंट नाम आ गया, पानिनीज उनकी किताब का नाम क्या था? अष्टाध्याय, पानिनीज अष्टाध्याय इन ग्रामर। तो अगर हमें कोई ये कहता है कि तुम्हारे यहाँ लैंग्वेज पर ग्रामर पर बहुत काम नहीं है, तो आप उसको पाणिनि का अष्टाध्याय पढ़िए, बोलिए पढ़ो। जब तुम्हारे यहाँ शब्द की रचना करना तुम्हें नहीं आता था, तब हमारे यहाँ लोग ग्रामर की सूत्र लॉज लिख रहे थे। पीपल लाइक पाणिनि वर राइटिंग अष्टाध्याय। तो ऑल्टेकर ही लुक्स एट अर्थशास्त्र एंड ही सेज कि अर्थशास्त्र का राजनीति के में वही स्थान है जो पाणिनि का ग्रामर में स्थान है। और देखो ये दोनों ही चीज कहाँ लिखी गई है? इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट, एंशिएंट इंडिया में लिखी गई है। सो एंशिएंट इंडिया आई वुड से वाज वन ऑफ द ग्लोरियस सिविलाइजेशंस दैट एवर एक्जिस्टेड ऑन दिस अर्थ। बट क्या है कि समय की मार है, रथ का पहिया जब ऊपर जाता है तो फिर वो नीचे भी आता है। तो एक बार हम अगर शीर्ष पर थे तो फिर हम नीचे भी आए और हम फिर से, इसलिए एक बड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉलिटिकल नैरेटिव बना है हमारे देश में। एक बार फिर से भारत को विश्व गुरु होना है। क्यों? इट कम्स फ्रॉम द एंशिएंट टेक्स्ट, क्योंकि हम ये मानते हैं कि एंशिएंट जो वर्ल्ड था उसमें इंडिया वाज मोर और लेस विश्व गुरु, व्हिच मींस वी हैड द बेस्ट एजुकेशन सेंटर्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। नाउ टेल मी, अगर आपके देश में हजारों की संख्या में, एंड आई एम सेइंग हजार डज नॉट मीन 1 2000, 20 हजार फॉरेन के स्टूडेंट्स अगर आपकी यूनिवर्सिटीज में पढ़ रहे हो, तो इसका मतलब है कि उस स्टेट की एजुकेशन में कुछ तो बात थी। आज तो नहीं पढ़ते, हाँ इतने सारे लोग तो नहीं पढ़ते ना। आप जाते हैं बाहर पढ़ने के लिए, मतलब आप अपने किसी इंस्टीट्यूशन को नहीं कह सकते ग्लोबली वी आर लाइक इन द टॉप 10 और टॉप 5, कांट से दैट। ये सब कहाँ चली गई? विदेश में चली गई। वो सब कुछ पहले आपके यहाँ था। तो आप जिसको आज समझते हैं कि दे आर द मोस्ट एडवांस्ड कंट्रीज इन द वर्ल्ड, दुनिया आपके बारे में ऐसा समझती थी एक जमाने में, दैट यू वर वन ऑफ द मोस्ट एडवांस्ड कंट्रीज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, स्पेशली इन टर्म्स ऑफ नॉलेज। Knowledge evolved from this country. Knowledge on astrology, knowledge on mathematics, knowledge on science, knowledge on medicine, all kinds of knowledge. So we have Charak Samhita that has a detail on medicine, that has a detail on many kinds of modern practices like surgeries and others. So that is what I'm trying to say you, that we have always been a country which has given so much of prominence and importance to knowledge. So we have been a knowledge society. And therefore to say that this knowledge society was not investing their mind on the issue of politics would not be a correct analysis for our countrymen of the past. Because when you had such great minds who lived in this country, they also spent so much of time pondering over the questions of politics, that how does state come into origin, what should be the relations between the state and society, how do you organize power, how do you ensure good governance, how do you ensure prosperity, how do you increase your power, how do you ensure that you have better relations with foreign nationals, foreign kingdoms, how do you ensure that if there's a war-like situation, you are always able to protect yourself, preserve yourself, protect your identity. All of this goes around with this solutions that were offered by our ancient text. And therefore I would say that one of the ancient texts which did a remarkable job was the Arthashastra written by Kautilya. Okay, so Kautilya also supported the divine origin of state. अभी हम केवल शॉर्ट में कर रहे हैं ताकि ये सब चीजें हमें पढ़ना है तो हम इस पर फोकस करेंगे। डिवाइन ऑरिजिन ऑफ स्टेट, considerably wrote on duties and responsibilities of the king, the principles of foreign policy, tax collections, war strategy, use of spies in politics. यानी कौटिल्य को लगेगा कि आपको बहुत बड़ा एकदम थ्रिलर देख रहे हैं। What is that called? This K.K. Menon series, quite hit and popular. Special ops. Special ops वाली feeling आपको आएगी. The manner in which Kautilya and his writings would be seen over there. I've not seen it, but I've heard that it is something which has fascinated the Indians enormously. So if you start watching once, you'll not be able to skip. That is why I've never watched it. क्योंकि इतना देर तक कोई एक चीज देखना थोड़ा मुश्किल है। So the only thing that I love watching is sports, because still you have a time that इतना बजे शुरू होगा इतना बजे खत्म हो जाएगा. So there's still something you can plan in between. Okay, so I would say that these are some of the best way in which we understand the ancient Indian political thought. इसमें next एक और point में लिखिए, the Buddhist and Jain thinking. अब हम बुद्धिस्ट और जैन थिंकिंग को इतना इंपॉर्टेंस क्यों देते हैं? क्योंकि देखिए हमें ना एक प्रॉब्लम हमेशा दिखेगी इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट की, और वो है कि मनुस्मृति ने जो समाज बनाया उसकी हायरार्की हमें हमेशा प्रॉब्लम करेगी। क्योंकि मनुस्मृति ने एक हायरार्की बेस्ड क्लास बनाया ना, समाज बनाया। क्यों? वर्ण सिस्टम से समाज बना, व्हिच मींस इन द सोसाइटी समबडी इज इंफीरियर, समबडी इज सुपीरियर। वेस्ट क्या कहता है? देखो हमारा पॉलिटिकल थॉट सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रेस करता है इक्वालिटी पर, ठीक, अच्छी बात है, बट एंशिएंट थॉट को देखो अगर वेस्ट में, तो वहां भी हायरार्की है। प्लेटो ने तो हायरार्की बनाई ना, एरिस्टोटल ने स्लेवरी को जस्टिफाई किया ना, सिटीजनशिप में सब तो नहीं थे ना, तो वहां भी हायरार्की है। यस और नो? But what we want to demonstrate here is that Indian political thought, ancient, if you just come to Buddhist and the Jain thought process, you will find that these two important thought process in our political tradition strongly emphasize on the idea of equality. Buddhism में कोई hierarchy है? सबसे ज़्यादा लोग जो बुद्धिस्ट बने वो कौन थे? People from the different sections of the society, the lower sections of the society. Why? Because Buddhism gave them equality. While at the time, the so-called Hinduism was basically a hierarchical society because it made distinction between man and fellow man. Buddhism said there's no need. Jain thought process. सबसे ज़्यादा जैन कौन बने? The Vaishya, the business community. Why? Because Vaishya was also lower in hierarchy. But Jain and Jainism gave them the opportunity for complete equality. Similarly, हमारा जो society था, it has become very sacrificial. Societies में जिस तरह से this whole ideas of religious practices were concerned, it was based on great deal of sacrifice of animals. Buddhism and Jainism moves us towards non-violence. तो इसलिए गांधी का भी जो बड़ा इंस्पिरेशन है पॉलिटिकल थॉट में वो कहाँ से है? फ्रॉम द जैन ट्रेडिशन. तो आप कैसे कह सकते हैं कि ये पॉलिटिकल थॉट नहीं है? जिसने महात्मा गांधी जैसे पॉलिटिशियन को इंस्पायर किया अबाउट मेनी ऑफ हिज आइडियाज, पॉलिटिकल आइडियाज, इट हैज टू बी अ पॉलिटिकल ट्रेडिशन. सो इफ आई लुक एट द जैन एंड द बुद्धिस्ट थॉट, देन their major contribution in our political thought was to help us understand the concept of equality. आज आप और हम जब इक्वालिटी को पढ़ते हैं तो इक्वालिटी में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट हमारे लिए क्या है कि एक पॉलिटिकल क्वेश्चन है. तभी आप इस पर पढ़ते हैं ना इतना, और आप कहते हैं कि कैसे हम समाज को एक दूसरे की इक्वल बना सकें. So you are always trying political solution to these political questions. So you say कि रिजर्वेशन होना चाहिए because the society has to be more equalized, and because some people if you want to give them equality of status, then you have to give them some special provisions. It is a question of equality, although very very surcharged political question, because people who are getting reservation benefits and people who are not getting reservation benefits, they are highly divided people. वो जो जिसको नहीं मिलता वो एकदम क्रिटिकल होते हैं, उनकी प्रियोरिटी नहीं होती है कि नहीं ये तो मेरा था पर किसी और को मिल रहा है, ये इक्वालिटी नहीं हुआ. क्यों? क्योंकि ये रिवर्स डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है. अगर 500 साल पहले किसी के साथ हमने गलत किया तो 500 साल बाद मेरे साथ भी तो वही हो रहा है. So there's one argument which will say that there is this reverse discrimination that is going on around the country, but you have to understand it as a political question. It's not reverse discrimination. This is about ensuring that people who are not equal, they get equality in society. समाज में उनको हमें बराबरी तक लाना है. कैसे लाएंगे? By making certain provisions that can elevate them. So if they are not educated, let us just twist the rules so that they can also get education. They can get admission into institutions. Because see, if you are running into race and you are running a 100-meter race and somebody has already run 50 meters, somebody is starting from the starting line and you say that it is a fair race, it is not fairness. Because ultimately we say that you also have to ensure that the society operates on the principles of fairness. That is why you bring in these ideas. And these ideas not only existing in India, it exists around the world. Because around the world people have analyzed and they have said that one of the ways to understand these political debate of backwardness and forwardness can be looked into by the state by following affirmative actions. But as far as equality in society is concerned, that is everybody is equal before the state, before the law. Where do you get this idea from? You get this idea from the Buddhist and the Jain tradition. So very, very important political question, which is very well taken up in the writings of those traditions that existed in the Buddhist and Jain thinkers. So that's why I would say that one of the major contributions made by the thinkers were that they said that people has to be treated as on the basis of equality. They actually ensured the principles of non-discrimination, which is an important area of your fundamental right. Non-discrimination clause है ना, Article 15, Article 16, and Jain and Buddhist tradition teaches you non-discrimination when it comes to the state. So that's why इनके पास भी origin of state की theory है, especially जातक टेल्स जब आप पढ़ते हैं तो जातक टेल्स has a detail of the origin of the state, and origin of the state here is different from the origin of state that exists in Manusmriti. So you get a new account of the origin of state, and you also get a new account in which how to organize power and how to ensure that you have a ruler. And ruler is not based on heredity. Ruler is chosen by the people who have come to an assembly to elect their ruler. यानी रिपब्लिकन ट्रेडिशन की शुरुआत आप देखते हैं कि हमारा जो हेड होगा, जो हमारे ऊपर शासन करेगा, उसे कौन चुनेगा? लोग चुनेंगे. वो किसी परिवार से उसका संबंध जरूरी नहीं है, उसको चुना जाना जरूरी है. और ये ट्रेडिशन बुद्धिस्ट ट्रेडिशन में सिखाता है. So that is why it's a political question that they try to address. So people who say that we did not have a good enough tradition of political philosophy and political thought, this is the reply that we can give to them, that we have a good enough, a very strong idea, legacy of political thought. So Buddhist and Jain tradition of political thought. Buddhist and Jain tradition of political thought opposed, यानी एक तरह का ये revolt है, revolutionary doctrine था, opposed the existing discrimination in society, and taught us the principle of human equality. It also discussed origin of states, and the idea of a king chosen by the people. That is, it introduced the idea of republicanism. In the ancient Indian political thought. So, what are the two central concepts in Indian political thought? अगर आप देखेंगे central concept in IPT, तो दो बड़े central concept हैं IPT में. यानी कुछ जो IPT है वो devoted है towards the understanding of धर्म, और एक part IPT का है जो ये भी कहता है that one of the major context of the political thought has to be stressed on danda. यानी किसी भी इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट के एंशिएंट ट्रेडिशन में आप जाएंगे तो दो ऐसे सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट जो हमें नजर आते हैं, दैट इज धर्म एंड दंड. सो धर्म एंड दंड, you know, these are the two central concepts of the ancient Indian political thought. So if you look at the ancient political thought, ये बात सही है कि as a nation शायद ही कोई ऐसा देश होगा which is subjected to so many attacks and invasions, and India has been that country. And from its ancient time we have been subjected to so many invasions and attacks. So ancient time में जो glorious chapter आपको दिखा तो अलेक्जेंडर जैसा आदमी आ गया, आप चाणक्य देखा होगा, अलक्षेंद्र ऐसा उसको हिंदी में कहते थे, और यवन ग्रीक्स को कहते थे यवन, उनका अटैक हुआ. तो उतने पुराने समय से आप देखोगे तो भारत, India is always open to these kind of invasion and attacks. But what is very surprising that if there are attacks from foreign shores, it impacts your society, it impacts your economy also. So despite all these ages and ages of attacks that continues in India, I would still say that there is a remarkable continuity in Indian political thought. जहाँ पर इतने सारे changes के बावजूद कि बाहर से अटैक हो रहे हैं, उसका सामाजिक प्रभाव है, उसका आर्थिक प्रभाव है, लेकिन फिर भी जो इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट है उसका मेजर एम्फेसिस इन दो विषयों पर हमेशा रहा. So what we find is that you know the ancient political thinkers had a very strong continuity into the thought process. उनकी जो thought process रही उसमें एक निरंतरता बनी रही. They have been very continuous in their thought process. That's why ancient political thinkers they have recognized two very basic features of political life. Okay, so that is what is the two bases of political life? Dharma and danda. क्यों धर्म एंड दंड पे कर रहे हैं? क्योंकि दंड की जरूरत है टू प्रोटेक्ट धर्म. अगर दंड नहीं होगा तो धर्म प्रोटेक्ट नहीं हो सकता. यानी धर्म अगर तब तक है जब तक कि दंड आपके पास है. सो पॉलिटिकल लाइफ का मतलब ही था एंशिएंट थॉट में that how do you use दंड so that you can maintain धर्म. मैं धर्म एक्सप्लेन करूंगा कि धर्म का मतलब क्या होता है. But first you have to understand this. So what is the basic question that our ancient philosophers, ancient political thinkers were asking? They were asking two essential questions. How to maintain dharma? And in order to maintain dharma, they found that we have to know a detailed idea of danda, because it is danda which is going to protect the dharma. Okay, that's why you know I don't see that there is an English word which can be translated into the word dharma. So you know we'll try to form such duty, duties, righteous duties. मैंने पहले आपको कहा था. So righteousness, or I can say that your rightful duty is your dharma. So I gave you an example and asked you, you are all student in this class. What is your dharma as a student? आपका धर्म क्या है विद्यार्थी के तौर पे? पढ़ना लिखना है ना. एक पिता है आपका धर्म क्या है? Look after your families, to earn for your families. If you are a mother, you know you have some dharma. आज के समय में mother has many dharma, but one of the essential dharma that we understand is they have to take care of the family. Father as well, mother as well. They have their own functions in the families. So I would say that dharma would mean a code of right conduct. A code of right conduct. क्या ठीक है और क्या गलत है? Rightful conduct. उसका कोड है यानी धर्म. So धर्म में हमेशा क्या होता है? धर्म would mean that it is basically your duties. Notion of duties. लेकिन कैसा ड्यूटी? राइट ड्यूटी. आप ये नहीं कह सकते एज ए स्टूडेंट आपका धर्म है कि आप बिल्कुल भी ना पढ़ें, मतलब क्लास से बाहर निकले और सीधा शुरू कर दें. या आज तो ऐसी पढ़ाई हुई है, क्या बताऊं पिताजी, हलचल मच गया पूरी यूपीएससी दफ्तर में. लोग पूछने लगे मेरे बारे में कौन विद्यार्थी है जो इस तरह से पढ़ाई कर रहा है. ये तो पहला रैंक पहले से वो रिजल्ट कर लिया. मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि फर्स्ट नहीं, मैं सेकंड थर्ड का प्रयास करूंगा. आई हैड वन स्टूडेंट और वो हमेशा कहता था कि सर मैंने सोचा कि मैं फर्स्ट रैंक नहीं लाऊंगा. तो ऐसा क्यों? तो नहीं सर मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि सरकार काफी प्रमोट कर रही है महिला उत्थान, तो फर्स्ट रैंक किसी महिला को आना चाहिए. मैं सोच तो बहुत अच्छी है, लेकिन तुम्हारा बस है सोच पर. अपनी चिंता करो, कौन क्या करेगा इसके बारे में अभी से क्यों सोचें. और आप समझ सकते हैं क्या हुआ. सो that's basically the issue over here. ये धर्म है. दंड क्या है? दंड is basically the means. दंड है वो मीन्स है जिससे कि आप you can ensure that you are able to protect धर्म. हम कह सकते हैं it is force, right? It is coercion, punishment. तो इसे दंड की नीति भी होनी चाहिए ना. डिसिप्लिन. डिसिप्लिन is a good word, not punishment. Discipline is a good word. Discipline. So this is dand, that you maintain discipline, you maintain the force by the state so that dharma can be protected. You know that's precisely the idea. So when I start looking at the idea of this धर्मशास्त्र ट्रेडिशन, so धर्मशास्त्र में तीन चीजों पर बड़ा जोर दिया गया है. इस धर्म और दंड की तो बात हम कर रहे हैं, आईपीटी में सेंट्रल कॉन्सेप्ट. एंड इफ आई कम टू धर्मशास्त्र में, यू विल फाइंड दैट इन धर्मशास्त्र तीन चीज हमेशा ऑक्युपाई करते हैं प्रीमियर पोजीशन. पहला कि हाउ यू कैन एक्चुअली डू गुड कंडक्ट, कोड ऑफ राइट कंडक्ट, दैट इज धर्म. देन इन केस व्हाट शुड बी द लीगल प्रोसीजर इफ यू डेविएट फ्रॉम धर्म. एंड थर्ड व्हाट शुड बी द दंड. बहुत बार क्या होता है दंड की जरूरत नहीं होती है, आप राशि भी कर लेते हैं, पेनेंस. उसकी जिक्र भी हमें धर्मशास्त्र में देखने को मिलता है. तो दैट्स व्हाई आई वुड से कि ये जो पूरा डिस्कोर्स हमारा है एंशिएंट इंडियन पॉलिटिकल थॉट का, उसमें सेंट्रलिटी रही है धर्म की और दंड की. क्यों रही है? बिकॉज एट एनी कॉस्ट dharma preoccupied a position of centrality in the dharmashastra tradition. That's why it is called dharmashastra. Okay, and how do you ensure dharma in society? How will society operate on the lines of dharma? For that you have to have an account of danda. So that how government will use force in order to ensure dharma, how they will use coercion in order to ensure dharma, how you would ensure discipline in society so that dharma could be protected. तो ये सब notable ideas हैं. This ideas are crucial for our understanding. अगर हमने ये ideas समझ लिए तो it will be easier for us to understand the ideas of dharmashastra. So where do you see the idea of dharma coming from? Let me actually give you a brief account of it. So dharma comes from which word? The word is in संस्कृत. तो हम सबसे पहले क्या रेफर करें कि संस्कृत वर्ड में जो रूट वर्ड है थ्री, वहां से हम धर्म को समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. ठीक है. सो व्हेन आई लुक एट, अभी हम धर्मशास्त्र की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, जस्ट ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन यू द कांसेप्ट ऑफ धर्म. सो वेयर डज धर्म ओरिजिनेट फ्रॉम? देयर इज अ गुड वर्ड इन संस्कृत व्हिच इज कॉल्ड थ्री, एंड वी आर अप्रोचिंग द आइडिया ऑफ थ्री एंड वी आर ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड थ्री. सो जो संस्कृत वर्ड थ्री है इसको हम 4 लिखा है हमने. सो इट्स थ्री एक्चुअली. सो व्हाट इज इट? इट मींस टू होल्ड, टू होल्ड टुगेदर. सो दैट्स द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड थ्री. सो इट्स द रूट वर्ड संस्कृत वर्ड थ्री. तो धर्म के बारे में कहा जाता है कि धर्म इज समथिंग, सो dharma is something which holds the society together. अगर धर्म ना हो तो ये समाज बिखर जाएगा. आप कहते हैं ना कि देश जो चल रहा है, कुछ तो धर्मात्मा लोग हैं जो अभी भी चल रहे हैं, नहीं तो ऐसी नौबत आ गई है देश की, दुनिया की, भगवान मालिक कैसे देश चलेगा? सब लोग अन्यायी हो गए, अनैतिक हो गए, एवरीबडी हैज बिकम इमोरल, दे हैव टर्न्ड अनएथिकल. Only God knows how this world is operational. But this is operational because the Sanskrit word 3, if you read it, it says that dhatri iti dharma. It is simply telling you that dharma is something that holds the society. So इसको थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश करता हूं. यानी यहां पर हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं, है ना? तो धर्म ने सोसाइटी को होल्ड किया हुआ है. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि अगर मान लो कि धर्म ठीक से हर कोई फॉलो ना करे तो क्या होगा? सोसाइटी वुड बी इन डिसअरे. So it is simply trying to give you a very simplest of the logic. The logic is very simple. From the meaning of the dharma, they are trying to tell you that dharma is something where society is held together. इसका मतलब है, और मैंने धर्म के बारे में क्या किया? It is like a code of right conduct. So if everyone follows their dharma, that is right conduct. हो सकता है सबका धर्म भी तो अलग अलग है ना, सबका धर्म एक जैसा नहीं है. But if everyone holds their dharma, follows their dharma, then it would hold the society together. और अगर मान लो हम धर्म पर everybody does not follow their dharma, then that society will fall. That society will be very difficult to be kept held. So if everybody is following or performing their specific duties, then we can say that this is going to be a performance of duties, and therefore it can lead to some sort of a holding of the society. अब ये यूनिवर्स ऑपरेट कर रहा है, उसके लिए भी तो कोई लॉ होगा, हम भी ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, हमारे लिए भी तो कोई लॉ है. So that's why you will find that Dharmashastra is trying to explore that how do you understand the ideas of political dharma as a matter of investigation. So Dharmashastra is trying to give you an account through which you can understand the dharma of the entire political life. So a dharma for a king, a dharma for a minister, a dharma for a people like me, and a dharma for all the other members of the society. So they're trying to understand that dharma, exploring that question of dharma, that what is going to keep the society afloat, and how you are going to ensure that dharma is going to be something which will hold the society and carry the society forward. Okay, so people will now look at dharma and they will try to understand it, and they will say that see, only rightful conduct which is performed by the individual is going to hold the society together. तो धर्मशास्त्र का ना सबसे बड़ा फोकस इसी पर है, to explore कि what is the rightful conduct of everyone. So if I am a king, मेरा conduct क्या होगा rightful? If I am a minister, what is going to be my rightful conduct? If I am a Brahmin, what is my rightful conduct? What is my dharma? If I am a Kshatriya, what is my dharma? If I am a Vaishya, what is my dharma? If I am a Shudra, what is my dharma? So basic focus is on exploring the dharma of the society, because they say that only dharma is able to hold the society together. Okay? That's the very first idea that we see over here in this idea of dharma shastra. Okay? Secondly, the second thing which is like primary in the ancient Indian political thought is that how do you ensure that dharma is observed? Because अगर धर्म observe ना करे तो आपने तो ये धर्म के बारे में बताया ना, you have now found out that this is your dharma, this is your dharma, this is your rightful conduct, you have to do it. But in case people are not doing it, people are not following it, then what will happen? You cannot keep the society intact. Society will not be able to then combine itself. Society will be in disarray. तो धर्म को स्थापित करना सबसे बड़ा काम है उस समाज का. लेकिन अब धर्म को स्थापित करने के लिए कोई जरिया चाहिए. You need some means, some ways through which you can ensure that dharma is established in society. चाहिए नहीं चाहिए? अगर मान लो कोई धर्म से अलग काम कर रहा है, not following dharma, तो you should have a proper means of using force so that he falls in line, because you cannot allow the dharma to not being observed in the society. So he says that see, dharma is very very essential, because if you are not observing dharma, then you cannot keep society, you cannot hold society together. So if this earth is basically in the whole cosmic forces operating within a particular gravitational law or within any kind of a law which we can say is a cosmic law, then what keeps this earth sustained and moving forward? It's the dharma. So if you are not following dharma, then even you cannot have a guarantee that this earth will sustain any longer. So that's why in order to keep it all together, you need to maintain dharma in society. तो धर्म एक तरह का इक्विलिब्रियम है समाज का. अगर धर्म नहीं होगा ऑब्जर्व, तो समाज इक्विलिब्रियम से पीछे हट जाएगा, और तब समाज में प्रॉब्लम्स आनी शुरू हो जाएंगी. So one thing that you have to necessarily focus on is that how do you maintain dharma in society. And that's why the second important focus that the ancient Indian political thought gave was the idea of danda. And danda is what? That how do you maintain dharma. Okay, so we have already seen danda means force, it means restraint, it means discipline. But what is very significant here is that how are you using these powers of the state, and how by the use of these powers of the state you are maintaining dharma. So danda means what? That is use of the powers of the state to maintain dharma. That is why you would find in the entire discussion of the Dharmashastra and Arthashastra, so you will see that there is a strong concentration on one or the other aspects in the two primary traditions of Indian political thought. So on the one hand, you will see that Indian political thinkers have conceptualized the entire political thought in two major concepts. Bhikkhu Parikh कहते हैं with his observations, and he says, here I see that dharma and danda are the two major concepts of ancient Indian political thought. So dharma is reflected in Dharmashastra, while if you look at Arthashastra, it focuses on danda niti. It is like how to organize danda, how to ensure and be majorly concerned about the political aspects of life, not the dharma of the life. Arthashastra का context क्या है? राजनीति. Rajniti is the most important thing for them. Politics is most important for them. That's why we say, or politics most important क्यों है? Because politics is more like Dandaniti, where you are using the force of the state. So how are you going to use the force of the state? If that is your major intention, so ancient political thought में Arthashastra is Dandaniti, while Dharmashastra is Dharmaniti. That's why we say these were the two important concepts in ancient Indian political thought. ठीक? इसलिए आप क्या करें? आप एक टेबल बनाएं धर्मशास्त्र, और दूसरा टेबल में लिखें अर्थशास्त्र. उसके बाद एक करके हम इन ट्रेडिशंस को पढ़ने की कोशिश करेंगे. Okay? So धर्मशास्त्र focused on duties of the entire society. Duties of the entire society. And when I say duties का मतलब क्या? So the entire society. One of the most important Dharmashastra is Manu Smriti. Next point. It deals with dharma of individual, social group, and state. अर्थशास्त्र में लिखे, it focused on organization of danda. Organization of danda का मतलब क्या? State का force, यानी power, organization of danda, and mechanism of danda. Next point. It focused on power. That is how power could be acquired and exercised. Next point. It focused on threats to elements of the state. Threats to यानी इन्होंने स्टेट की एक थ्योरी बताई हमें और ये समझाया कि हर एलिमेंट पे कैसे कैसे थ्रेट हो सकता है. It focused on threats to threats to element of the state. So in modern world we say that state has 4 elements. What Aर्थशास्त्र says that there are 7 elements of the state. So he's talking about it, that how threat to an element can actually be a threat to the overall existence of the state. So it gives you a wonderful theory through which you can understand these ideas. Okay. Next point. अर्थशास्त्र में it focus on increasing of power. और also its acquisition. ये पावरफुल आप कैसे बन सकते हैं, इस पर बड़ी गहरी चिंता है यहाँ पे. तो इसके धर्म पर चिंता कम है. पहला अगर कोई एंशिएंट टेक्स्ट है हमारी नजर में जिसका डिपार्चर है धर्म से, तो वो अर्थशास्त्र है, क्योंकि अर्थशास्त्र का प्राइमरी फोकस धर्म नहीं है. It's not as if that he is not talking about धर्मशास्त्र in अर्थशास्त्र. There also there is a division of society, then you have societies and social goals which are marked by the state, but that is not their primary concern. Their primary concern is power, prosperity, and how to retain and exercise power. So that is why they are more focused on first acquiring power, retaining that power, and using that power so that you can maintain dharma in society. Okay, so danda is very important, power is very important in अर्थशास्त्र. That's why we say कि अर्थशास्त्र जब आप पढ़ेंगे तो आपको ऐसा लगेगा that politics is like an autonomous discipline, जिसमें कि हमें अभी धर्म को नहीं लाना है. लेकिन धर्मशास्त्र में हर चीज धर्म से शुरू और धर्म से खत्म होगा. ये बड़ा मूल अंतर है. तो कौटिल्य में it is not very important when you are dealing with politics, then you don't bring the issues of dharma in politics. That's why even if you use immoral ideas in order to increase your power and retain your power, Kautilya would justify it. So more like what we have read in Machiavelli. That's why we say that Arthashastra overall as a tradition has given us a strong departure in the Indian political thought. So we say that Indian political thought's major concern is only two. That is either they are focused on dharma or they are focused on danda. Where do we get the examples from? So dharma focuses on Dharmashastra, so Manusmriti being the object of our study, and Dandaniti, that is how to use force, how to ensure that you retain power, you increase power, and how to ensure that politics is treated as an autonomous subject and field of study. This is what you find in Arthashastra, and that is why it is a strong departure that we see in the study of the traditions of the Arthashastra. Okay, next point. Arthashastra treats politics as an autonomous discipline. Arthashastra treats politics as an autonomous discipline. और धर्मशास्त्र की तरफ देखिए. धर्मशास्त्र major concern is not politics. धर्मशास्त्र major concern is not politics, यानी political नहीं है. It's not political. धर्मशास्त्र major concern is not political, but social. इसलिए वो समाज को धर्म के मार्ग पर लाने के लिए ज्यादा कोशिश कर रहे हैं. वो कह रहे हैं कि ये मेरे समाज को धर्म पे लाने का ये मार्ग है और ये शास्त्र है जिससे कि समाज धर्म के रास्ते पे चल सकता है. तो politics is not a larger concern, but it does not mean politics is not at all a concern. See, while you are reading any of these traditions in the ancient political thought, the concerns are both. क्योंकि कोई भी समाज बिना दंड के नहीं चल सकता ना. तो प्रावधान दोनों है. The issue is which area your focus is more on. That is, which is the area that you are maximum or you are mostly focusing on. That's why we say that people who are reading or who are doing Dharmashastra for us, so for example Manusmriti, so if he is doing a Dharmashastra for us, then the major intention in the Dharmashastra is society. We are trying to ensure that society operates on the principles of Dharma. So how to create a society where every individual in society is performing his Dharma, observing his Dharma. As a social group, within that social group, every social group is observing its Dharma. And how that would ensure the creation of an ideal society. You know, the Dharmashastra, that's the major intention. क्योंकि हमेशा समाज में रहना है, धर्मशास्त्र नहीं है. हमेशा क्यों रहोगे? एक समय के बाद निकल जाओ, जंगल जाओ, तपस्या करो, मोक्ष प्राप्त करो, हो गया तुम्हारा खेल खत्म है. तो संसार से दूर होना शुरू कर दो. Because it's धर्मशास्त्र, it's teaching you a pathway. हमेशा मत उलझे रहो सांसारिक चीजों में. There is a time. Okay, so that's why you have different stages of life also, and you have to observe those stages of life. That is what is your individual conduct and the dharmic conduct. तो उसका focus उस पर रहता है. It does not mean that in Kautilya's time it was something else. In Kautilya's time also this was the dharma that one has to observe. But Kautilya's writing focused less on this aspect, but more on the aspect of how a state can have more power and how he can increase his power, so that it can have more prosperity. You know, how they can have a use of force in the society, and how force can be a decisive area where the state has to concentrate upon. So it's not as if that I'm saying that something is lacking. Both coexist in both the traditions of Dharmashastra and Arthashastra. It's just that author gave primacy to one idea over the other. So Dharmashastra writing gives prominence to the right conduct of an individual, of a social group, of the entire society to create an ideal state. While Dandashastra gave concentration on force, power, how to do it, how to increase it. So that this looks more political because the concern is political, and this looks more dharmic because the concern is dharmic. That's the only primary difference. Okay, so it is more like I would say, क्या कर सकते हैं? कौन किया? उसका काम क्रिटिसाइज हमारा करेंगे, पटेल क्यों करेगा? पटेल उन सब चीजों पे ध्यान, पटेल अपनी बात करेगा, कोई भी ऑथर है, मैं अगर ऑथर हूं, मैं अपनी बात बोलूंगा, मुझे दूसरे को आने देना है, हम करेंगे क्रिटिसाइज हमारा। ठीक, पटेल ने धर्मशास्त्र तो लिखा ही नहीं, पटेल ने अपनी किताब का नाम ही रखा अर्थशास्त्र, इसलिए वो ऐसा नहीं कि पहले किसी को क्रिटिसाइज करेगा तब अपनी बात करेगा, उसने अपनी बात शुरू की पॉलिटिकल, उनके लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट इशू क्या है? पॉलिटिकल, जो पॉलिटिकल विषय है वो उस पर ज्यादा गंभीरता से ध्यान रखते हैं, तो उनका मेजर कंसर्न है अर्थ। अर्थ इज व्हाट? प्रॉस्पेरिटी, वेलबीइंग, मनी, है ना? सो हिज मेजर कंसर्न, वो समझते हैं इस बात को कि जब तक अर्थ हमारे पास नहीं होगा तब तक वी विल नॉट बी एबल टू इंश्योर अ गुड स्टेट व्हिच विल कंडक्ट इट्स ऑपरेशंस वेल। अगर मैं अर्थशास्त्र पर फोकस नहीं करूंगा तो मेरे अपने लोग कल को मेरे खिलाफ हो जाएंगे। क्यों? क्योंकि मेरे पास प्रॉस्पेरिटी के लिए कुछ नहीं है राज्य में, मैं प्रॉस्पेरिटी नहीं करूंगा तो कल को दूसरा राज्य मेरे ऊपर हमला करेगा तो मेरे अपने लोग उसका सहयोग करेंगे, मेरा नहीं करेंगे। रिमेंबर, जब मगध पे चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य ने अटैक किया तो मगध की जनता ने किसका साथ दिया? चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य का दिया। क्यों? क्योंकि जो राजा उस वक्त थे वो उनका रूल इतना अनपॉपुलर था कि पीपल वर नॉट हैप्पी विद इट, एंड देयरफॉर दे थॉट कि ये राजा मेरे लिए बेहतर विकल्प हो सकता है, तो तुम्हारे अपने लोग तुम्हारे खिलाफ हो जाते हैं। तो चाणक्य इज सेइंग कि मेरा दिमाग इस पर है, मैं अभी धर्म पर कहां जाऊंगा? धर्म इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ योर लाइफ, ऑब्जर्व करो, ही इज आल्सो ऑब्जर्विंग इट, बट ही सेज माय मेजर कंसंट्रेशन इज टू मेक दिस कंट्री पावरफुल, make Magad powerful. How do I do that? He's asking this question and he's putting up his solution. That is why he say that his focus is not dharma but Dandaniti. That is why these are the two prominent questions that is trying to explore the idea of Indian political thought in the ancient era. ये दो political questions हैं जो ancient era में हमें देखने को मिलते हैं. That is all time. लिख लिया उसको? अब नीचे पॉइंट में लिखिए, दो पॉइंट लिख लीजिए. धर्मशास्त्र explored a code of conduct which would cover entire human life. Their focus on government and issues of politics was less in comparison to exploring the dharma of society. Next point. But Arthashastra concentrated on political issues like the nature of power, organization of government, especially focusing on political life. Next point. So Dharmashastra subject matter includes moral. यानी moral है ना, ये आपको बता रहा है right conduct क्या हो, तो something that tells you do's and don'ts, right and wrong, it's always based on a moral question, a moral issue. तो यानी आपका धर्म क्या है as a student, as a social group where you are part of any varna, also between the age groups, between one to the other age group. So everywhere there is some code that is being taught over you. मोरल है और कोड है तो लीगल भी है, ये कानून बना दिया भाई इतने वर्ष तक आपको पारिवारिक जीवन में रहना है, इतने वर्ष तक पढ़ाई लिखाई करनी है, एक वर्ष के बाद आपको पारिवारिक जीवन छोड़ देना है, उसके बाद धीरे-धीरे परिवार के दायित्व कर्तव्यों से आगे बढ़ना है, एंड आफ्टर दैट संन्यास, फाइनल स्टेज, है ना? अब भारत बोलेगा सर संन्यास क्यों ले? देयर इज नो नीड टू टेक संन्यास, क्या दुनिया में क्या खराबी है? संन्यास तो नहीं ले सकते, तो हिज कंसर्न इज समथिंग एल्स, बट धर्मशास्त्र इट्स अ डिफरेंट कंसर्न, तो वो इट्स अ कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट ऑफ द एंटायर सोसाइटी एट लार्ज एंड हाउ यू ऑब्जर्व दैट कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट इन ऑर्डर टू क्रिएट अ गुड सोसाइटी. तो इसका मतलब एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट हम समझेंगे, मनुस्मृति में पढ़ाऊंगा तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम होगी समाज में, तब तो इस तरह से कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट कह रहे हैं. देखो कोई भी चीज अगर समाज में आता है तो उसके पीछे की कहानी क्या होती है? समाज में कुछ लॉलेसनेस है, कुछ केओस है, कुछ डिसऑर्डर है और उसको ठीक करना है. और समाज को कैसे ठीक करते हैं? बाय डिसिप्लिनिंग देम, बाय कमिंग विद रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस, सम कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट, एंड देन यू ट्राई टू क्रिएट एंड इंप्लीमेंट दोस कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट सो दैट इट कैन लीड टू अ बेटर सोसाइटी. सो धर्मशास्त्र में जो स्टोरी है वो उस सोसाइटी के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में है. दैट इज व्हाई at that time in order to move the society out of chaos you required that there has to be a legal, moral, ethical code of conduct that everyone should observe. That would lead to creation of an order in society. But when Arthashastra is written, at the time the concern of society is something else. At the time the society is facing questions of power, how to organize power, how to increase prosperity, how to ensure that the state remains with its identity, the state is not vanquished by other powers. So that's why Arthashastra is focusing on those questions. Those are hardline political questions. Dharmashastra is focusing on hardline dharmic questions as per our tradition. So both have their own importance. We cannot say that this has less importance, the other has more importance. But this is how they divided their subject matter. That is why we are reading them. Okay? And then for Dharmashastra when we read, there can be some criticism from some perspective. The manner in which they constituted their ideas. थोड़ी आलोचना हम देख सकते हैं या कर सकते हैं. That's the British over there. ठीक है? Clear है? Subject matter of dharma क्या लिखा? Moral, legalistic. यानी कानून में फ्रेम किया ना, लॉ है, इसलिए मनु को क्या कहा जाता है? He's a lawgiver. उसने हमें एक कानून दिया, है ना? और बहुत सारे लोग जिन्होंने कानून लिखा उसको कहते हैं मॉडर्न मनु. यहाँ भी मनु को ले आते हैं. और काफी लोग बहुत नफरत करते हैं मनु से, लेकिन फिर भी बाज नहीं आते लोग. बताओ he's a modern तो क्या it evokes all kinds of response. So you'll see why Manu and his ideas are so criticized and so hated also. क्योंकि I think कि मनुस्मृति की जितनी आलोचना होती है और जितना strong reactions है मनुस्मृति पर, उतना किसी भी क्लासिक किताब पर उतना आक्रोश नहीं लोगों का. There has to be a reason for it. In this country, people have like burned Manusmriti, and but very unfortunately, what you find is nobody in the house would say that they have a Manusmriti. तो मनुस्मृति हमारा बहुत मेन टेक्स्ट नहीं है. तो इसके स्टोरी पर समझेंगे हम लोग कि भाई आखिर मनुस्मृति को बाद में ट्रांसलेट क्यों किया गया, मनुस्मृति वापस आता क्यों है, वो इतना मेन स्ट्रीम क्यों बन जाता है. इसका कारण क्या है कि जब अंग्रेज भारत आए तो उनको लगता था कि यार इनकी कोई एक तो किताब होगी ना, धार्मिक किताब होगी, क्योंकि उनके पास एक किताब थी. तो कहते थे मुझे हिंदू धर्म समझना है तो मैं क्या पढ़ूंगा. तो पूछते पंडितों से, कहते सर वेद पढ़िए, 5 वेद है, उसमें इतना इतना है, उपनिषद पढ़िए, फिर पुराण है. कहते भाई एक ऐसी किताब बताओ जिसको पढ़ के मुझे समझ में आ जाए कि क्या कहना चाहते हैं. तो दे डिस्कवर भाई मनुस्मृति, परफेक्ट स्मृति ट्रेडिशन. स्मृति का मतलब क्या होता है, मेमोरी. तो भारत के यहाँ जो चीजें लिखी गई है तो उसमें 2 ट्रेडिशंस बड़े मशहूर हैं. हाँ, श्रुति एंड स्मृति. व्हाट इज श्रुति? श्रुति इज व्हाट यू हियर. श्रुति इज व्हाट यू आर हियरिंग. So when you have no language, then all the knowledge were kept by hearing. So you would hear and you will pass on the knowledge to the other generation. लोग बैठेंगे अभी भी देखते हैं श्रुति, काफी वेद की ऋचाओं का पाठ करते हैं लोग. They have a distinct way in which they move their hands, so they are basically pronouncing all these mantras, and they can pronounce one mantra in 5-6 different ways. So that in order to preserve also they have 5-6 different ways to preserve. हो सकता है कोई आदमी 2 भी जानता हो, फिर भी preserve तो हो गया ना, किसी को 5 पता हो, किसी को 4 पता हो. So this was the technology which was used. But what was Shruti and what remained after Shruti became Smriti. जब श्रुति ट्रेडिशन खत्म हुआ, जब लिखने का ट्रेडिशन आ गया, तो जब हमने लिखना शुरू किया तो what existed in our smriti, in our brains, in our memory, that became Smriti. So in that sense, you can say that what you are talking in terms of Smriti is also part of Veda, because you cannot say that these are 2 separate things, Shruti and Smriti. Okay, and that is why we are looking at the ancient political thought from 2 traditions. One is Brahmanic tradition. So largely, Shruti and Smriti is Brahmanic tradition because it comes from the writings of Brahmins, saints, sages. The other is Shramanic tradition, which is basically coming from a school of thought which is different from the school of Brahmanism. So from the Shramans, the Buddhist and the Jain tradition. So very interesting political thought division that we have in our country. इसमें लिखवाऊंगा, समझा के बताऊंगा. But the issue is कि why I am looking at all this instead of going into that tradition, हम अभी focus कहाँ कर रहे हैं? In our ancient political thought, which is largely Brahmanical tradition or Brahmin tradition. So whether it is Arthashastra or Dharmashastra, both are part of the Brahmin tradition. Okay, so we have not come to the other tradition yet. That's important. But still, in those different eras, we have different subject matters that were prioritized in our study. So the Dharmashastra would give priority to dharma, moral legal conduct of life. That is their subject matter. तो इसलिए जब मनुस्मृति लिखेंगे तो एक code of conduct होगा, वो एक तरह का कानून होगा. इसलिए हम कहते हैं कि first law giver. Why? Because he gave us law कि हमें कब क्या करना है. एक व्यक्ति के तौर पे मेरी क्या ड्यूटी होगी, यानी एक समाज के प्राणी के तौर पे मेरी क्या ड्यूटी होगी. As an individual, as a social group, what is my duty that I have to perform? Because dharma is what is holding the society, and the society is under huge stress. So now I have to ensure that dharma is informed in society. So that is what Manu is trying to do. That is why he writes a legal code of conduct, a moral code of conduct, that everybody has to follow these duties. Because once you start following duty, everybody follows their duty. That society becomes a society based on dharma, and then you will be able to relegate the society from its chaos and disorderliness. So that is called Matsya Nyaya in the Indian tradition. Matsya Nyaya is basically the law of the fish. बड़ी मछली छोटी मछली को खा जाती है. वहां हम देख रहे थे लॉ ऑफ नेचर, याद है? माइंड इज राइट, स्टेट ऑफ नेचर. यहां हम कहते हैं मत्स्य न्याय. So the big fish following the smaller fish. So you have to create order. How to create order? By ensuring rightful conduct, rightful duty. That is what Manu is trying to do. So that's why we say this is largely written from the perspective of moral, legal, what else? Moral and legalistic, and religious. Moral, legalistic, and religious, While Arthashastra, अगर मान लो हमने धर्म की तरफ ध्यान ही नहीं दिया तो हम कह सकते हैं बड़ा सेकुलर पॉलिटिकल थॉट था, है ना? क्योंकि हमारा धार्मिक चीजों पर थोड़ा कम ध्यान है, हमने उसको एक्सप्लेन बहुत कम किया, अटेंशन नहीं दिया उसको. तो इसलिए जो सेकुलर चीजें क्या है, मेरा विकास कैसे होगा, इसका धर्म को रहना है. सेकुलर चीज क्या है कि मैं पावरफुल कैसे बनूं, वेरी सेकुलर काइंड ऑफ आइडिया, है ना? एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कैसे मजबूत से मजबूत हो सके. तो जो सेकुलर कंसर्न था स्टेट का, अर्थशास्त्र का ये सब्जेक्ट मैटर था. दैट्स व्हाई वी से कि मनुस्मृति वाज मोर लीगलिस्टिक, मोरल, रिलीजियस, बट अर्थशास्त्र वाज मोर रियलिस्टिक एंड सेकुलर. व्हाइल अर्थशास्त्र वाज मोर रियलिस्टिक एंड सेकुलर इन नेचर. जो मैं बता रहा था जैसे इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि इसमें धर्म नहीं था और अर्थशास्त्र में धर्म नहीं था और धर्मशास्त्र में अर्थशास्त्र नहीं था. दोनों चीज दोनों के साथ था, दोनों कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री है. आप मनुस्मृति में देखेंगे कि मनुस्मृति विल आल्सो से दैट समटाइम्स यू हैव टू यूज फोर्स इन ऑर्डर टू इंश्योर धर्म इन सोसाइटी. और अर्थशास्त्र में देखेंगे केवल दंड से नहीं होगा, देयर हैज टू बी धर्म इन सोसाइटी एज वेल. दैट्स व्हाई अगला पॉइंट लिखिए, बोथ traditions understood the importance of dharma and danda as complementary. तो बिना दंड के धर्म रह सकता है ना? और बिना धर्म के you cannot create only a political society. So they are complementary in terms of their relations. ये समझते थे दोनों. Next point लिखिए. So even in धर्मशास्त्र, under certain circumstances, it talked about necessity of the use of force. Full stop. Similarly in Arthashastra, the importance of dharma was accepted. For ensuring ensuring the moral ends of ENDS, moral ends of state. Next point. They differ primarily because of their subject matter. So they laid emphasis on different aspects. है ना? तो धर्मशास्त्र is focusing on political life from the idea of dharma. Arthashastra is focusing on political life from the idea of artha. Danda. That's the primary difference. Next point. They both resembled. So why they resemble Machiavelli? Machiavelli resembled them. So Machiavelli resembles what Arthashastra. Because Arthashastra is written way before Machiavelli is written. So almost we can say that 2000 years before. So it is Machiavelli who can be said to have great deal of resemblance from the writings of Arthashastra. So Arthashastra is not resembling anyone. It's the original tradition. But Machiavelli shows so many resemblance. We'll understand that also. And that is true. The resemblance is true. Next point. Both tradition acknowledged the importance of each other. So we can say that the two traditions constitute the central concepts of Indian political thought, ancient Indian political thought. So I think this is the primary discussion that we have in the introductory part of how to understand ancient Indian political tradition. So primarily questions में ये 3 एरिया से ज्यादा आया हुआ है. अगर एकदम हम केवल ancient tradition को देखें, अभी हमने पढ़ा कुछ नहीं है. We have just looked into some of the major tenets of the central concepts of Indian political thought, which is more like divided into two central concepts: the Dharmashastra, the Arthashastra. And as I ended my discussion by telling you that we should not look at these two traditions in isolation because both complement each other. Even in the Dharmashastra tradition, you will see that sometimes they will say that they will deviate from dharma because force would be necessary to keep the society under under check. While there will be also a concern of dharma in the political life, even in Arthashastra, although it primarily focus on more secular ambitions, while Dharmashastra focus more on religious ambition. That's why it is more like a code of conduct, a law, religious, moral, legal in nature. While Arthashastra is more like talking about powers of the state, administration of the state, governance of the state, and how do you ensure that you retain power, and if you have less power, how to acquire more power, and how to ensure that whatever power you have acquired, how do you retain that power along the way. So largely secular issues is the major project in Arthashastra, while in the Dharmashastra, the larger project is to look into religious and the conduct of society as a major issue. So that's why we say Dharmashastra is more legalistic in nature, Arthashastra is more realistic in nature. Dharmashastra is very ideal in nature, Arthashastra is very realistic in nature. Dharmashastra is more like code of conduct, Arthashastra is more like understanding of dynamics of power. It's more like a treatise, it is more like a statecraft. ये दोनों अंतर है. वहाँ पर statecraft पे focus नहीं है. वहाँ पर society को कैसे ensure करना है that there is order in the society. Here it's not about ordering the society, it's more about how to practice statecraft in society so that you become more powerful as a kingdom. So these are two central tenets in the Indian political thought. So if people would say that India is not engaged into the questions of politics in their ancient tradition, then I think this very two traditions is a good enough answer to us. So don't judge only the Indian political thought from the point of view of Dharmashastra. Try to just look at the Dandashastra also, the Arthashastra also, because that will give you a detailed account of how the ancient Indian tradition and political minds were applying their ideas in order to gauge the existence of the state, the ideas of governance, the ideas of different organs of the state, and how do you find stability in different organs of the state. So very important political questions were discussed, and the questions largely reflected the concern for power and also increase of power. So that's why you would say that these are the real political questions. But even in the ancient India, these real political questions have been answered quite comprehensively. So I would say that to say and to start with the basic premise that India did not have an ancient political thought would be a some sort of a misplaced argument. I would say I would not criticize much, but I would say that it's a misplaced argument because even from the Western scholarship, we have seen enough people who would come to a point and argue that see India has a very well developed Indian political thought even in the ancient era. And why would they say that India has a very well developed political thought in the ancient era? Because of the manner in which you will see that important question of dharma and danda was beautifully explained in the writings of in the Dharmashastra tradition. So we'll read about the Smriti, Manusmriti precisely. We'll start Manusmriti tomorrow, and also very interestingly in the Arthashastra tradition. But in between lies a very significant tradition that is largely called the Shramanic tradition, the Buddhist tradition. That we'll also have to look upon because the syllabus does not talk about the Jain tradition. So, but we'll focus on the Buddhist tradition for sure, so that we understand that how there was also a concern on the basis of non-discriminatory state, how there was a concern for the idea of a republican state, all being very relevant ideas in modern political thought. So even if I just look at these three sources of India's political thought, that is Dharmashastra, that is Buddhist tradition, and the Arthashastra, I see that all the ideas that exist in modern day political thought can be easily gauged, understood, and explained by reflecting upon those writings. So what we have to do is first, at least this week, we will try to focus on all these traditions and understand that what prevailed as a very systematic body of knowledge on politics in ancient Indian political thought. So this would be our major concern. So from the next class, we'll begin with Manusmriti.